You are watching the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Just 5 days remain, and both candidates head to the West Coast. What the vice president and the former president have to say in competing rallies in the same states.
This would be the basis of a diplomatic resolution to the crisis.
Why negotiators in the Mideast believe a deal could be agreed to by the weekend, at least on one front of the war in the Mideast. Then unusual weather in much of the country this Halloween, where it's scary hot or where trick-or-treaters are facing bone-chilling cold. This is the National News Desk, America's News. Now, we are glad you're here with us, and the countdown continues. I'm Dee Dee Gatton, and we are only 5 days away from Election Day. Both presidential candidates are on each other's heels as they continue to campaign in the final week leading up to the general election. Vice President Kamala Harris is making 3 stops today, hitting the battleground states of Arizona and Nevada. And in about 2 hours, she will host a rally in Las Vegas. Pop star Jennifer Lopez is expected to deliver remarks. Later tonight, the vice president will head to Reno for another evening rally. This afternoon in Phoenix, the vice president spoke about her priorities if she wins.
And it is my pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
Meantime, former President Donald Trump also in Nevada today. This is a live look at his rally in Henderson, Nevada's second largest city after Las Vegas. He is expected to speak in about 30 minutes. The campaign says he plans to focus on the economy. Then later tonight, Trump will travel to Glendale, Arizona to join the Tucker Carlson live tour for a discussion. This afternoon, Trump held a rally in New Mexico, which has been a Democratic stronghold. Only once since 1992 has a GOP nominee won this state. George W. Bush got almost 50% of the vote there in 2004. Trump told his supporters today he thinks it can happen again 20 years later.
But you have to turn out the record numbers that we need in order to really demand a better future, and you have to go out, you have to vote. We want to win, win, win. We want to take care of the great state of New Mexico.
And then on the other side, the country, in Pennsylvania, a legal challenge to shut down Elon Musk's $1 million a day sweepstakes is on hold. A judge in Philadelphia held a brief hearing today before saying a federal court needs to decide proper jurisdiction. Musk's attorneys argue this should be heard in federal court, while state prosecutors, they disagree and move to have the case remanded back to the district level. Remanded. At issue is Elon Musk's $1 million a day giveaway to swing state voters. The prosecution's arguing the SpaceX and Tesla CEO is violating federal election law by paying people to vote. Musk argues he's only awarding people who sign a petition supporting constitutional rights, whether they vote or not. In York County, Pennsylvania, the Office of Elections and Voter Registration is still reviewing a suspicious bulk drop of registration applications that were recently admitted. On Tuesday, former President Trump posted on X this mass drop indicated attempted fraud. But Al Schmidt, Pennsylvania's Secretary of the Commonwealth, told our station in Harrisburg that identifying irregularities doesn't amount to fraud.
I think it's important that our county partners always be vigilant. You never want to, turn the other way whenever there are allegations or anything like that. You always have to investigate to make sure that our elections in Pennsylvania are free, fair, safe, and secure.
In that batch of slightly more than 3,000 apps, just about half have been verified as legitimate. 24% were denied, most of which were duplicate submissions. The remaining ballots are still under review as more information is needed from the applicants. Important to note that these are registration applications and not ballots. No votes, illegal or not, have been counted. The numbers are in, and we are getting a look at the final inflation report before Election Day. According to the Commerce Department, inflation has fallen to its lowest level since February 2021. The National News Desk, Atra El-Nashar, takes a look at how prices are impacting voters.
It's nothing new for voters to choose candidates based on how they think they'd help their own personal economy. But after a crushing pandemic followed by years of high inflation, this election, the stakes feel higher.
I'm having to use more of my savings or my retirement than I really wanted to at this time.
To me, it's not a partisan issue. It's an American issue.
The cost of living has been a top concern for voters throughout this election, but the burden is different for each voter.
I like to try to put a little bit more money away, and we're not able to do it with the cost of groceries and stuff.
I'm fortunate, I don't feel like I'm suffering, if you will.
New inflation data out Thursday shows the 12-month inflation rate fell to 2.1% last month, within arm's reach of the Federal Reserve's target rate of 2%. Prices aren't rising as quickly as they used to, but they're still painfully high for many Americans. When asked in a recent Gallup poll what they think the most important issue facing the country is, 43% cited something related to the economy. 14% specifically said the cost of living.
The past 4 years, nothing has happened. Okay, it's gotten worse.
We had over 10 years of 2.5% growth, zero inflation. Sooner or later, you have to pay the piper.
Looking to the future and at their ballots, some are wary about supporting Vice President Kamala Harris.
Should I give them another chance, another 4 years to get up there? I don't think so.
Others hear former President Donald Trump's economic plans, like implementing across-the-board tariffs, and get nervous.
This idea of putting tariffs on everything actually makes it more expensive for the consumer.
You get into a trade war with the rest of the world, you're going to lose.
Now, voters are also staying mindful of the state of the job market. Friday morning, we'll get an updated unemployment rate, the last one before Election Day.
Audra, polls have shown voters tend to trust Republicans more than Democrats on the economy. What exactly are we seeing in the data in these final days?
Yeah, certainly. Well, Trump still holds the lead over Harris when voters are asked who they trust more to handle the economy, but his lead is narrowing significantly, according to a fresh New York Times Siena College poll. In mid-September, their poll found that he had a 13-point lead over Harris on this issue. Now, that lead is cut in half to 6%.
All right, live from Washington, D.C., Atra El-Nashar, thank you. Election Day, just 5 days away now, and we want you to be ready for everything that night. Here at the National News Desk, we will be beginning special election night coverage next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, going through the night with live reactions from both the Harris and Trump campaign headquarters, as well as reactions from congressional races around the country. Join us next Tuesday, both on air and online at thenationaldesk.com. Many trick-or-treaters are not having to bundle up this year. This Halloween is already turning out to be the hottest ever in some areas. Temperatures, they are soaring above 80 degrees in parts of the Northeast, Great Lakes, and Mid-Atlantic. New York City hit a record high of 82 degrees, and Portland, Maine reached a record of 76. We're headed into November, and these temps are like this. Over 30 northeastern cities were forecast to set records. Many Midwestern cities are up to 30 degrees hotter than usual. Other parts of the country are getting snow tonight. Some areas in the upper Midwest could get 4 inches, and high elevations out west could get 3 feet. And here's a live look over the Los Angeles skyline. This morning, the LA Dodgers arrived back home, World Series champs. The team and their fans will get to celebrate for Ticker Tape Parade tomorrow, starting at 11 a.m. at Los Angeles City Hall. But last night's celebrations did become dangerous. Detectives in LA are working to identify suspects in street takeovers and violent crowds that broke out overnight after the Dodgers secured the win against the Yankees, according to police. 12 people were arrested for looting stores, throwing fireworks and other objects at police. Look at these images here. And also setting a bus on fire near the Dodger Stadium. The transport authorities said the driver and 5 passengers got out safely. Right now, authorities in Baltimore County, Maryland, are searching for a teen murder suspect, Brian Rodriguez. Staff at a hotel in Pikesville say another teen was shot there on Sunday and died at the hospital. Law enforcement sources say local authorities believe Rodriguez is an MS-13 gang member living in the country illegally.
It makes me concerned for my 11-year-old. I worry about his safety and all the kids' safety that I know, and anybody, because they could have missed that person and hit somebody else.
Meantime, authorities in Ohio are investigating a violent standoff at a Harrison Township Kroger this morning. The county sheriff says Kroger management saw an armed man wearing a mask and asked him to leave. The man then pulled out a handgun and tried to fire it, according to witnesses. A security guard working at the grocery store then shot the suspect.
We do not know exactly why right now they wanted that individual gone. I can tell you that the individual was covered pretty heavily with a face mask and other things like that. We don't know if that's the reason why, but for some reason they asked him to leave.
The suspect was hospitalized but is responsive. New details now. The cleanup and recovery from Helene in western North Carolina is far from over, but there is good news for people of Asheville, as one of their most popular and scenic roads is finally reopening in some places. The National News Desk, Rex Hodge, is in Asheville with more on where the residents can now drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Would you hold the door?
Just before October closes, sections of the Blue Ridge Parkway reopen after damages from Tropical Storm Helene more than a month ago.
Fantastic.
Uplifting news for Carol Graham.
Got up this morning and saw the news on Facebook that this one section was open.
It's been a long haul, with the Park Service assessing impacts and making repairs. But now, here in our mountains, nearly 55 miles are back in business.
Some of the popular areas that folks may be interested in knowing about include Graveyard Fields Overlook and Trailheads, and Water Rock Knob Visitor Center and Park Store.
The Park Store here at Water Rock Knob is also open from 10 till 5 until November 11th. Park Service Public Information Officer Jonathan Schaefer says the storm caused extensive damage to the parkway, so parts of it remain closed.
There are sections of the parkway closed near Asheville, North Carolina, and then going north from Asheville, there are discontinuous sections open going all the way up towards the Virginia border.
In places, big chunks of the road sliced away. A 2-mile section that includes the Devil's Courthouse remains closed due to a landslide. The Park Service expects that closure to be in place for an extended period. Park officials ask visitors to stay out of the closed areas, and that applies to drivers, hikers, and bicyclists for their safety and workers.
Closed areas are spots where there are likely heavy equipment operators working on recovery efforts. And if folks enter those areas, it makes it harder for our crews to continue their work.
Schaefer says they're still assessing the condition of the whole parkway. The reopening priority, he says, is based on the sections that enhance community connectivity. Best, he says, to plan a trip ahead of time, since roads to the Blue Ridge Parkway may be storm impacted as well.
And all of a sudden it pops up the 3,000 or 4,000 feet to go up the mountains.
Damage to trails off the parkway is still being assessed. Rangers on hand offering guidance to visitors like Carol Graham.
They're not perfect yet, so yeah, you got to go up there with caution.
But she, for one, is delighted to have some of the parkway back.
This is just God's country, and it's so beautiful up here.
Coming up, the latest with search and rescue missions in Spain after the country was hit with deadly flooding. Then, the types of Halloween candy that are the worst for your teeth. That's according to a dentist. Later on, AI deepfakes are being used in politics, not just at the national level, but also in state races. The impact it could be having. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As we come back on the air, here is video out of Valencia, Spain, after the floodwaters have receded. As you see here, officials there say the death toll has risen to at least 158 as those search and rescue efforts continue. Walls of rushing water turn these narrow streets into death traps Tuesday night into Wednesday. There is still an unknown number of people who are missing. Many bodies have been found in these cars piled up along the streets, but at least 110 people were saved as of last night in search and rescue missions. Big tech and the power they hold. It is once again in the spotlight as Election Day gets closer. Here's the National News Desk, Kayla Gaskins.
As part of the campaign blitz leading up to Election Day,
all right, we're rolling.
Donald Trump sitting down with popular podcaster Joe Rogan.
We would have never had the attack on Israel at all. Iran was broke.
The video topping 41 million views on YouTube and counting. But despite those numbers, many users reported trouble finding the full original interview, leading to accusations of suppression and censorship by Google. The House Judiciary Committee getting involved in what they see as yet another example of big tech attempting to quiet conservative voices. Committee Chair Jim Jordan sending a letter to Alphabet's CEO seeking an immediate briefing on YouTube's decision to censor the Joe Rogan interview with President Trump. YouTube officials posting on X, acknowledging the situation, writing, "We know it was frustrating for users," adding, "We've worked to resolve this." Joe Rogan sharing his thoughts on his latest episode.
There's no way it was a mistake. That's too convenient. But it could have been like some rogue engineer. You know, there's a lot of people that are working behind the scenes.
Also this week, House Republicans publishing a new interim report on their investigation into how big tech and the FBI worked together to suppress negative stories about Joe Biden and his family ahead of the 2020 election. At the center, the New York Post article reporting Joe Biden's family sold political access to him for financial gain to foreigners while he served as VP. The Post citing a laptop belonging to Hunter Biden and left at a repair shop as their source. The FBI warning big tech of Russian meddling. The companies then censored the stories. The laptop later proved to be real. Some on the left worry about censorship on X since Elon Musk, a Trump supporter, bought the company. A new Washington Post analysis finding Republicans are going mega viral while Democrats fade away. The Post concluding it's almost impossible, though, to say whether this is the result of an explicit suppression or a change in the attitude of users. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Developing now, ceasefire talks in the Middle East are making significant progress, at least on Israel's northern border, as they continue to fight the Iranian-backed terrorist group Hezbollah. While fighting in Gaza is not expected to be part of any agreement, Lebanon's caretaker prime minister told CNN he's optimistic a deal could be reached soon. And here is a photo released by the office of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a meeting he had with U.S. Special Envoys Amos Hochstein and Brett McGurk. Today, the two of them are in Israel working to end all fighting in Lebanon, and a deal could possibly come within the next few days. But there is no let-up in the fighting on either side. Israel continues to attack inside Lebanon, issuing widespread evacuation orders today to the residents of Ba al-Bek. At least 6 people were killed and 4 others wounded in strikes today, while at least 7 Israelis were killed today after 2 rockets hit in northern Israel. This is the deadliest attack from Hezbollah inside Israel since 12 children were killed in August in the city of Majdal Shams in Israel's Golan Heights. New tonight, the clemency petition for the Menendez brothers is on the desk of Governor Gavin Newsom. Last night, the LA District Attorney George Gascon formally sent a letter of support to that petition, which could see the brothers released from prison. Eric and Lyle Menendez are both serving 2 life sentences for the 1989 murder of their parents. Newsom said in a podcast last weekend he is reviewing the case. If you're not careful, some of that Halloween candy could be a bit of a health hazard. Medical reporter Liz Bonas shares one dentist's least favorite picks for your teeth.
Hey there, everybody. It is not one trick-or-treat night that dentists say they worry about when it comes to your teeth, but there are a few sweets that can be a bit of a nightmare for teeth, they say, all year long. Keep them checked and cleaned, and you reduce your odds of any tooth decay or cavity crisis due to candy or not. Family dentist Dr. Greg Pohl told me.
We try to avoid that if we can.
Dr. Pohl says his top candy picks from trick-or-treating that can be a bit scary for your teeth include candied nuts and popcorn, which can lead to broken teeth, and lollipops and hard candy, which dissolve as a sugary solution. Prime breeding ground, he says, for tooth decay.
And how do we avoid that? By 6-month checkups. You know, we catch something before it's a problem.
Next on his list of least favorites for candy include those that are sour. They're sugary and acidic and leave you at risk for bacterial growth and tooth enamel breakdown in the mouth. Not a problem on a holiday, but over time.
Because it's all about patterns.
Finally, candy corn makes the least favorite list for your teeth due to the stickiness that stays between your teeth. And so does caramel. It often is so gooey and sticky it can pull out loose fillings. Another reason to remember, he says, that regular dental checkups matter.
Generally speaking, if you have good dental health, you have good general health.
Now, Dr. Pohl also says if you notice a sweet treat makes a tooth or your mouth seem sensitive, it might be time to see the dentist and make sure it's not a tooth or cavity problem. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
All of my favorite candy made that list. All right, coming up next here, the owner of the Conjuring house was arrested just a few days before Halloween. We've got the new body cam video to show you right after this. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start in Texas with the impact of AI on the election.
We're seeing deepfakes pop up not only in the national election, but in state races here in Texas. Back in April, this mailer went out showing House Speaker Dave Phelan hugging Nancy Pelosi. That never happened, though. In a post on X, Phelan says it's a, quote, deep fake photograph.
We've had a deepfake law in the books since 2019, but it's already behind.
Texas was actually the first state to criminalize some deepfakes in 2019. You could get a year in county jail and up to a $4,000 fine, but only if they're videos and only in the 30 days before an election. Is that enough time to make a difference, especially because the technology is more advanced now?
Absolutely not. The threat of these deepfakes doesn't stop at 30 days out. It just doesn't.
So for that AI photo of Speaker Phelan,
it was technically legal.
This is body camera video from the King County Sheriff's Office as deputies rushed to get a man out of this car that was up in flames. Jacob Shook was trapped inside that vehicle fighting to get out.
Get out of here.
His sister Angela Shook, heartbroken that her brother experienced that trauma.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh God. Like I just kept saying that over and over because
I don't know how he is alive.
Angela said he had just started a new job and fell asleep behind the wheel, causing him to crash through a fence and into this wooded area. His family tells me he was in a coma for about 3 days after the crash. And after seeing the body camera video, his family says they're forever grateful for everyone who put their safety on the line for Jacob.
Body-worn cameras show police following a car in Burrowville on October 28th, just after 9 o'clock at night. Authorities were tipped off to a white Lexus driving in an erratic and reckless manner. Jacqueline Nunez, the owner of the Conjuring House, caught on camera. The police report states officers smelled alcohol in Nunez's breath and observed her bloodshot, glassy eyes. Nunez telling them she's the owner of Rhode Island's most famous supposedly haunted house.
I have a couple drinks. I'm the owner of the Conjuring House.
Nunez in her Conjuring House sweatshirt getting a laugh out of the field sobriety tests.
Completely.
Keep your eyes open. No, this is funny.
It is funny.
Yep. Right foot in front of your left, heel to toe manner.
Police issued Nunez a citation for DUI and reckless driving, eluding an officer 3 days before Halloween.
Late last month, astronomers observed a comet that they expected would be visible in the night sky at the end of October, dubbing it the Halloween comet. But like a story from a proper Halloween horror movie, that comet met its untimely demise before it could escape the sun and head back out of the solar system. NASA released these images today. You can watch the moment it happens right below the sun. That happened over a couple of days. Finally, it evaporated on Monday morning. Pretty much goodbye, Halloween comet that we hardly knew. That's going to do it for us tonight for this edition of the National News Desk. I'm Dee Dee. We'll see you tonight.